Hi there. Welcome to our Week in Review extended show, or In the Wires, with your host, that girl, Jenna Kirisoa. It's the 4th of November, 2024. So we are in episode 10 of this series, and my apologies for the delay. This was supposed to be out last week. So this is coming from the 21st through the 23rd of October, 2024. So belated. But for our Monday spiritual social causes, again for October 21st, it was called Filling in Holes. Tuesday, Business and Tech Talks for the 22nd was Media Monopoly book discussion, and then Wednesday, Health and Wellbeing discussions with Genesee Nutrition. It was regulate the EQ. So let's start in with filling in holes. We talked about the book Angry Young Men by Aaron Kipnis, as well as the book and film Holes, and I paralleled these two. Recently watched the movie Holes with my children, and it reminded me of these discussions that we've been having with the book Angry Young Men, talking about the criminal justice system, how young men are being treated and mistreated, the epidemic of high suicide rates, controlled substance abuse, and other types of tragedies and traumas that men are placed under, especially at young ages, and what we can do as a society to protect them and prevent future violence against them, which ultimately will prevent future violence against society, because these young children, these young men, these boys grow up, and if not properly treated, if not proper intervention is taken in place, if not proper support, help, and treatment, then you are creating future assailants, future violence towards more young men and other members of society. It's a terrible, vicious cycle. So with the discussion in the book, Angry Young Men, Aaron Kipnis discusses his childhood trauma. First time being behind bars at the age of 11. He was trying to get away from abuse from his stepfather, and he fled somewhere, and instead of them helping him and giving him protection and safety, they put him into a juvenile detention center where he experienced more trauma, and he was in and out of the system for several decades. He was able to beat the odds, became a PhD, married, children, and is now an advocate for protecting young men, bringing awareness to their needs. He acknowledges that women, of course, need protection. But interestingly enough, some of the statistics that he shares that some of the young boys, their first offenders, the first people who are the ones abusing them, are their mothers. And it's single mothers who are struggling, who have fallen between the cracks, and society has neglected them. And with their situations, they end up abusing their own sons, directly or indirectly, either physical or emotional abuse, or stepfathers are the ones abusing their children. And young boys are least likely to report the abuse, to talk about the problems or anything that they've experienced. They keep it to themselves more often, and they are forced through the criminal justice system without any type of rehabilitation, any type of actual support or intervention. It's a terrible, vicious cycle. And I'm not saying that this is happening across the board in every state, all the time, in every community, but there is seeming to be an alarming number, and the numbers seem to be increasing. So this is what the book is about, bringing awareness. With the movie and the book Holes, the main character is falsely imprisoned, but there was a blessing in disguise. He was able to, there's the character advancement, and he was able to break generational curses in his family and obtain generational wealth. He was able to work through the problems and persevere. It was a very interesting book and film, and though the process was very painful and difficult, it brought light and brought attention to what happens oftentimes to young men, falsely imprisoned, accidents occur, and instead of actually getting the help that they need, they are placed in harm's way. With each person, individual though, if you think about it, there sometimes are blessings that come through the tragedy and hardships. it's just important that we, the grown-ups, we, the adults, we, the people who are the community members, the ones who are on the school boards, the ones who are in city hall, city council, the ones who are in public service, city council members, what have you, to really consider the ramifications if we don't have proper intervention future going forward. What can we do to prevent future violence towards community members? So that was pretty much our discussion in a nutshell from our October 21st, titled Filling in the Holes. So if you want to listen to that full podcast, check it out in the link in the description. So for our business and tech talks, it was The Media Monopoly, this book. Pretty much a history book because it was written more than a decade ago, and it was trying to sound the alarm, bring attention to the reduction of media sources, the information that we, the consumers, are obtaining from these newspapers and the news on television and the books. The information is being limited. The people there used to be multiple magazine owners and newspaper owners and television network owners, and over the years they've become, what's that word I'm looking for? Oh boy. When they come together, merging, there's less private news sources out there. I think at one point there was in the hundreds, now there's only about 9. And one very important quote that came from that book that I bring up in the most recent podcast on this discussion is that they cannot control your thoughts, but they can control what you think about. So you think you're getting all the information, all the facts, all the, perspectives and opinions or details of something, but it's very, very minimal and reduced. And there's a lot of information that you're not getting, and it's not by accident. So the book, again, is titled Media Monopoly. So check out the podcast. It gives a little bit more information onto that book and discussion. Wednesday, Health and Well-Being with Jenna C. Nutrition. It was about emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, how to regulate your emotions. So brought up a couple of books and some bullet points on how you can have better emotional regulation, some tips and tidbits. One of them being taking personal accountability, not pointing fingers and blaming people for causing you or making you feel a certain way. Sometimes it's you that misinterpreted the information. And at the end of the day, sometimes you have to realize that feelings change. Don't ask me how I feel. Ask me what I know. What you're feeling may not be accurate with what's going on, or just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean you have to act a certain way. So pretty much the highlight for the discussion for our health and well-being. With that, I will leave you. I've been your host, that girl, Jenna Kurosawa. Thank you so much for joining us in the wires for that week of October 21st through the 23rd. So, as always, thanks for spending your valuable time with us. God, peace, and many blessings to your family.